Fall is usually the time of year that I look at my harvest. I think about what I need to get through the winter, how I can apply meaning to that. But this year it's been different. This year I'm in mourning. My mom passed away in August, and since then I've really felt untethered. So trying to find a way back at a time when everything's been packed up and tucked away for the winter is really hard. All the reminders are there. The riverbanks have receded. The leaves are off most of the trees. The air is cold. Places that were once packed and full of life are now barren and gray. So it's hard to find inspiration when a place that was once so full and vibrant is empty. Mother Nature has a way of sending signs, and of course, I got a sign in the form of a white hawk. And I got 44 glorious seconds of footage. This bird reminded me that I'm on a spiritual journey, and it's time for me to take stock. Look at what I have, think about what I need, and determine what direction I want to go in, and then just set off. I took my first cues from my backyard buddies that I like to feed walnuts. I whisper blessings onto these walnuts for peace and protection, so wherever they bury them or crack them open and leave those shells, there's little pieces of protection spell for my whole neighborhood. And that was telling me that I can look to the trees. It's time for me to gather what I need. And in our backyard, there is a black walnut tree. There aren't enough walnuts on it for me to do what I wanted to do. But I knew that a nearby park would have enough walnut hulls for me to get to where I needed to be. So I gathered about 24 of these things and took them home to freeze them so that I could dye some wool and make some ink to keep me busy this winter. How's it going? So here I have black walnuts that I have been soaking for a couple days. I gathered them about a week ago and froze them, and today's Saturday, Thursday afternoon, I put these in this pot right here. Give me a second. So this is a liner. I put this in between the black walnuts and everything because black walnuts will stain everything. Strainer, I am not using this for anything else. I've needed one of these for a while. I make my own powdered soaps and different things like that. I need something to sift, and this is gonna be it. But definitely only using this for utility things now. And here we have the black walnuts. So people are always talking about a smell. This isn't something I've done before, but black walnuts, apparently the husks, the hulls, emit a smell. It makes sense because when you gather these, they have maggots. So they're walnut fly maggots. They're specific to walnuts, but they're in every single husk. So if you go out gathering these and you're like, oh, I don't want any with maggots in it, good luck. They all have them. But be forewarned. That's the kind of thing that you're going to get. So it makes sense that it might have a smell. Even having sat here fermenting for 2 days, I mean, it's a little sour, but not anything that I wouldn't expect from if I had set out a strawberry shrub or something like that. But this is on purpose. It actually smells a little woody, kind of like pencil shavings. But I have to get some rubber gloves on and get the hulls off of the nuts and then get this ready to boil. I am going to use this to dye a few skeins of alpaca yarn that I have, and then also take the exhaust bath, add a little more husks that I still have in the freezer, and make ink to use in my practice. And we're gonna take this ride together. It's one of the things that, as I've looked up, I remember my mom using black walnuts to stain our porch, but she mixed it with, I think, turpentine or something. I'm not using anything like that, but black walnut dye does have many uses. The hulls you can use to make stain, dye, ink. The wood is highly cherished. It's one of the trees that has a lot of value, both in marketability and metaphysically and medicinally. So if you can get your hands, if you know the flavor of black walnuts, it is very specific. I would even say that it's an acquired taste, because I don't know anybody that's tried black walnuts that doesn't like them. But it's one of those things, if you can get your hands on some, by all means, try it. You'll probably like it. Let me know down in the comments below if you've had black walnuts before, and what you thought of them, if you have. I think my favorite way to have them is in an ice cream. So here we go. While we watch the condensed version of me taking the husks off of these black walnuts, if you're enjoying this video so far, please take a minute to subscribe if you haven't already. It will also help my channel grow if you comment, share, or like any of my videos. I'd really appreciate it, and I appreciate that you've stuck around this far. Let's see what else I can't get into. So I have brought the entire show into my garage. And this isn't really something I anticipated when I started out. I didn't want to risk permanently staining my floors, my countertops, or my sink. So I brought all this out here. That's kind of why this is out here. If there's something spilled, it's concrete, it's stainless steel. This is exactly why we set this up like this. So all I've got to do now is get my pot. I've got, I don't know if you can see this, I'm not trying to tip it too much. But there is that black, the black ink, the dye, and then that sack of black walnut hulls that I'm kind of using to keep the sediment out of the rest of the dye bath. So I'm going to put this on here, crank this puppy up. All right, so we had a teeny little mishap. I've mostly cleaned it up. I'm going to do more cleaning later, but for now, I think this is ready. Double bubble, toil and trouble. All right, so this has been simmering for about a half hour, more than half an hour, and it finally stinks. Like, it kind of stinks. Like, I had to open up the garage doors, but it has an antiseptic smell. This, on its own, is an antifungal. You can use walnut to make a salve, an antifungal salve. So you can definitely, it has that smell distinctly. So something to keep in mind. It doesn't make me want to vomit. It might make somebody want to, but it's not that bad to me. And I'm not too sensitive with smells, but it's different. At first it was kind of nutty, but once everything started to concentrate down, you could really smell it. Making this into an ink, I can see now why you would want to add cloves, which I do have right here. Once I take this out, I am going to simmer this down a little bit more and hopefully try to make some ink out of this. I got this all rinsed off. It is a gorgeous chestnut brown color. You can see where I haven't quite squeezed everything out. It's rinsing clear though. I don't know if that's gonna just the way that it's gonna dry. It'll probably dry a little bit lighter than this, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. You saw how light that was. Here's a closer look at that before and after too. This is the skein that I dyed. Here's another skein that I had bought on that one up. There is some ink that I had wiped off of my desk and actually saved it because there's a nice poly coating on this. It does stain anything that is cellulose or protein based though. So I do have some hope. I think this might be a poly mix, but either way, I'm committed. But this is what it ended up looking like. If you can see this, I think that light's picking it up. You can see where it's lighter right here and darker right here. And you'll see that throughout this. But it kind of reminds me of some of the striping yarn that I have. And I'm okay with that. If this ends up striping a little bit or making some modeled patterns, I all the better. I am here for that. That's what the yarn looks like. This is what the ink looks like. This is what the ink really looks like in a jar. Let this settle out a little bit and see if maybe you can't get some idea of what that looks like. You can kind of see it right there. Just a golden brown, deep brown color. And I got about a cup and a half. I added a quarter of a cup of vodka and about a half a teaspoon, I think, of gum arabic, and just shook it. And that's really all I did. When I was done with that, I put about 5 clove buds in there, and that sealed the deal for me. And to be fair, once I put the clove buds in the dye, it took on a whole new scent, and it really is something that I'm going to associate with this season. So I couldn't be more pleased with this. But this is a sample of what the ink looks like in writing. This is a retake video, so I was testing the water fastness after about 5 minutes. So let's try this again. It's been about 10, 15 maybe. But you can see you're getting a little bit more. It's not as much carry out, but this is a permanent ink. The longer this dries, the more waterproof it gets. But this is what that looks like. And it's such a beautiful, there's some that I spilled earlier. But you can see even with that run out, just that beautiful, I say golden. Correct me if I'm wrong, feel free, politely. But this is what we get from black walnuts. Now with the dye, all that I used were the husks from these and water. Because of the tannins that you find in black walnuts, it does not need a mordant. You can add mordant, it will change the color a little bit. But really all you need, even for the ink, is the black walnut husks and some water and heat, obviously. But that's what you get. Looking at these, I think are the properties that they bring medicinally. And those are the properties that help me determine kind of where this is going to go on a spiritual level to help me with any magic that I'm working that'll help me create some kind of long-lasting positive change. But for now, this is what's going to keep me busy. For the winter months, I'm going to be using this to knit a hat for me and a little scarf for my houseward. I think I'm going to do a learn to knit video with that little scarf since it's a small project and it's going to be a very simple pattern. So stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be featuring this ink a lot and some other projects as well. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I thank you for spending time with me. Take care. Do good. Be well.